you all to Mr. Damodhar Lohani, who will be our speaker for the session. He hails from the Himalayan country of Nepal. He loves to solve problems, bugs, and issues. He's a web and mobile engineer currently working as software engineer at apprite.io. He's extremely passionate and active contributor to open source community, and he loves to share his knowledge through videos and other social media actively. So you can check him out over there as well after the session. His technology stacks include Flutter, Firebase, React.js, HTML, CSS, and many more. He'll be taking this session on native plugins in Flutter. Now, before I hand over this session to Mr. Damodhar, a quick reminder to the audience about the flow of the session. You are requested and expected to maintain decorum and not unmute yourselves in between. Any queries and questions will have to be posted on the chat box and shall be recognized there. You'll be given a chance to unmute yourself in the Q&A session. Without taking any more time, now I hand over the session to Mr. Damodhar.
Thank you, Aditya. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Hey everyone. Namaste. I'm Damodhar Lohani, as Aditya said. I'm from Nepal, and I'm Flutter and Dart GDE as well as software engineer at Apprite. Currently building Apprite. It's an open source project. If you like, you can check it out later at apprite.io. So yeah, today's session will be about native plugins, using native plugins in Flutter. I hope you had a lovely session regarding the basics of Flutter and all those Dart things. And we did some basic widgets and API callings in Flutter. That's what I heard just now. So I hope you have understood like basic things. And I'd like to continue further. And yeah, let me start by sharing my screen. How does this work? Okay, screen one. Wait a minute. Let's take this to 2. Share screen 2. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know how to fix the layout. Anyways, if you are seeing this, then that's great. So first, before talking about native plugins, we need to talk a little bit about Flutter architecture, how Flutter actually works. And understanding this will give you a general understanding of how all the cross-platform frameworks like Flutter, React Native, or even PhoneGap and Ionic, those kind of frameworks work, because they follow some basic principle, some basic similar principles, principles that make them able to work cross-platform. That is, they provide a single API where we write code. However, they can generate the actual application for multiple platforms. And the crazy thing to remember here while talking about cross-platform application and more on native application, cross-platform native application from a single code base is that until and unless we are writing some UI only, it's fine because it's just UI, and Flutter is a UI framework. It can handle UI. And if we look at Ionic, as long as we are writing just the UI, it's only web, so we can write HTML and we can develop UI, that's fine, right? But the moment we try to access native functionalities, for example, let's say I want to access camera of a device. Now think, it's a cross-platform framework and I need to access camera in Android, iOS, and for Flutter, even web, and maybe when possible, not yet possible, but even in desktops. So imagine now how the camera works and the way to access camera and functionalities of camera in iOS is totally different from how we do it in Android, right? They are not the same. And you can't follow the same principles because they are different platform. Like iOS uses Swift or Objective-C, Android uses Java or Kotlin, and they have different APIs. The API you use to access camera in iOS is different from that of Android because they are totally different operating system with different set of principles and different architectures and all those things. Now, as a cross-platform framework, they have to handle all of these so that we, as a developer, can access the camera with the same API across different platforms that is supported by the framework, right? We need to access, let's say, we have a general interface where we can call camera dot get image or something like that, and we should be able to get the image from camera in Android, iOS, web, or any supported platform. But how is that made possible? So how is it possible to have a single interface across different platforms which have different sets of rules and different languages and all those things, right? So in order to understand that, let's understand the architecture of the framework. So sorry for that. Architectural layers of Flutter. We need to understand Flutter framework, Flutter engine, and embedder. So there is a three layers that makes up the Flutter itself, or Flutter, whole the Flutter framework itself. So in the framework layer, it's totally Dart. It contains all the things like material widgets that you may have used, or Cupertino widgets, all the widgets, everything related to rendering those widgets and UI, everything related to animation, painting, gestures like clicking, tapping, all those things, and foundation, like some foundation that gives us device details. All those things are there in the framework layer, which is independent of engine, but it does depend on engine. And then there is an engine layer, which is written in C and C++, that consists of various things like how these renderings are natively handled, frame scheduling, asset resolution, system events, platform channels, all those things. And this is the native code that interfaces with native operating system or native engine that does basic things. And then we have one of the important thing for today's lesson we need is platform channels. This is something I'll describe in detail. And then we have an embedder that works with the native platform. So this embedder is actually different for each platform. So if you are building a Flutter iOS application from Flutter, the embedder is iOS specific. And then if you are building the same application in Android, there is another embedder for Android specific that handles those things. And this is where the native plugins that we are going to talk about today resides in this layer. So how it works is, on top we have a Dart and we need a plugin system. So how plugin works is they or anyone, even we can write a plugin that has some native codes. So if we want to access camera, we need to have a camera plugin. And what that plugin does is it provides an interface in Dart that we can talk to as a developer. And the plugin itself translates those Dart interfaces or Dart calls using these platform channels. What this is, I'll tell you in a bit. Using these platform channels, it sends the code to the native platform, or it sends the call to the native platform. And the plugin also hosts the code for the native platform. So if you write a camera plugin that supports iOS, web, and Android, you need to have code for all those three platforms inside that plugin. So what happens? Externally, we see the Dart interface, which is same for all three of the platforms. But internally, the plugin handles how it connects with iOS, how it connects with Android, and how it connects with web in order to provide the camera functionality, right? So that is how the native plugins work. And that is how all the basic cross-platform frameworks work in general way. So they have a plugin architecture where plugin interfaces with the native platform, and then the plugin provide a interface that you can easily access using the same code base. So you are writing a code in Dart, however, the native plugin will translate it to the actual platform code or actual platform related calls using this platform channel in Flutter. Whereas if you look at React Native and its architecture, React Native has something called JavaScript Breeze, and they use that JavaScript Breeze to talk to the native platform. So there again, in React Native, you have a similar system. You write a plugin that has native code, different for iOS, different for Android, and different for any other supported platform, that writes the native camera access codes. And then the actual code that you see in JavaScript is just the one that you can use to access the camera. However, plugin internally handles all those things and then gives you a interface which you can talk to, right? So this is how basic plugin system work. And basically almost uh, most of the cross-platform framework that I have tried, like even PhoneGap and Ionic, all those things have similar plugin architecture and plugin system. They use some kind of channel, and plugins actually handle the native code. And if we are bold enough, if we can, and if there are no related plugins already provided by the community, we can write our own plugins using this platform channels and some documentations provided by the framework itself. Okay, so yeah, this is the plugins and plugin architecture. Anyways, so do you get the basic idea? I hope you learned the basics of Flutter and Dart. You understand some of these already. So if you have any confusion within this, please keep posting your queries. I'll try to answer them in between as well. Anyways, so this is how the plugin system work. And in Flutter, uh, if have you already used packages? I'm not sure. So if you have not used packages, there are two kinds of packages in Flutter. One is package and another is plugin. So package is Dart only package. So you can see here, package is a minimum Dart package. So it only contains Dart related codes and there are no native dependencies. And these can be like just a simple package to build new UI, access different functionality. uh, so this is package, and plugin is a special kind of package, so that makes platform functionality available to the app. So plugin is also a package, but it also hosts code for native platforms. So Raghav, I did not get the essence of it. So yeah, to get the essence of this, first you need to keep in mind that the Flutter itself is a cross-platform framework, and when you are writing code in Dart, it actually compiles to Android, iOS, web, and desktop. But you are writing same code base, you are writing only one code in Dart. However, same code works across different platforms, and you are writing same code to access camera or access the gallery. However, those same code work in Android, work in iOS, and work in web. So how does that happen is by using the plugins. So plugin handle the interfacing with the native things. So plugin handles how to get the image or camera functionality from Android and give it back to you in a Dart function call. So whenever you call a Dart function, it actually talks to Android, and then Android gives back the camera system and you can access it, right? So all those things are happening through plugin. And same thing, you write the same code. However, if you are building it for iOS, plugin translates it for iOS using the iOS related code the plugin has itself maintained. So in a plugin, we need to write the native code in order to access the camera. So we will not be able to access camera directly from Dart. We are able because Dart provides those plugins. Anyways, if you still don't get a gist, don't worry. Once we start using it, we will understand it. They are not like Java bytecodes. So they include Java bytecodes as well. If you build for Android, they include Java or Kotlin code itself. If you build for iOS, plugins contain iOS related code itself. So let me show you a plugin, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So this is the plugin today we are going to use. This is a image speaker plugin. And what this plugin does is it allows us to pick an image and display it in our Flutter project. Either pick an image from gallery or pick an image or take an image using camera and display it or get it in our Flutter application. And once we get it in our Flutter application, we can print it, we can upload it to our servers, we can do anything with that image, right? So if we go to the repository of this plugin and then look at its code, see, this is a plugin. So it has a Dart code inside live. You must have seen this. You have a Dart code. And then there is also Android folder and the iOS folder. So if you look at the Android folder, if we go inside source, main, let's say this is the image speaker, and there are all these things that actually writes the native Android code that you need in order to access the image, right? And then again, let's go back. If we go to iOS, again here we have native code in Objective-C that access all these photos, gallery, camera, and provide you the interface. Now finally, if we look at the image speaker live Dart file itself, so there are a couple of functions, image speaker, and let's say we have a get image function. So when I call this get image function, it is calling the platform.pick image function, which is inside calling or using the Dart's Flutter's, where it goes, not this one. So it is using the Flutters, this platform channels, in order to talk to the Android code that I just showed you earlier and give you back the image speaker or gallery so that you can access it. Similarly, similar thing happens in iOS. If you are calling same get image function, we are calling same get image function. However, using this platform interface inside, the plugin is calling the iOS or Android code respectively based on the platform that you are building for or based on the platform that you are running your application in. And this will be even more evident once we start writing and implementing this, right? So let's get back to pub. Okay. Yeah. So let me show you one more package that will make the difference between package and plugin clear. So this is Flutter SVG. This is compatible with all the platforms in Flutter. And if we look at the GitHub repository, this package doesn't contain anything else than Dart. There is no Android, there is no iOS, there is no other codes, right? It only has Dart code. So this is the normal package, whereas image speaker, anything that access native or that has native codes is a plugin. So the difference between plugin and package is anything that has native code is a plugin. Anything that doesn't have native code and has only Dart code, that is a package. And for Dart only package, you can simply use it, just install it and call the codes. You don't have to worry about anything because it is directly written in Dart. It only has Dart codes, right? However, once we move on to plugins, they have native codes and some of those require some changes in the native code itself for you to be able to effectively use it. For example, this image speaker, if we want to use it in iOS, we have to make sure that plugin requires iOS 9.0, right? We have to make sure that our app is built for iOS 9.0 or higher. Another, we need to add this NS photo library uses description, camera uses description, and microphone uses description in our info.plist. Otherwise, the App Store will reject our application, because using this speaker, we are accessing photo library, we are accessing camera, we are accessing microphone, because video camera uses microphone to record videos with sound. So we are accessing these functionalities, but we are not providing any information regarding why we are accessing those. So during the development mode, it might work, but when you publish it to App Store, it will not work. Another, in Android, so it is no longer required, no configuration is required. So for Android, it should work out of the box, no configuration is required. And for web, again, there is no information. That means we don't need any config. However, based on plugin that you are using, you might need to configure, like we saw here for iOS, we need to configure these things, right? So whenever you are going to use a plugin, just go through their documentation. They have a README file. Some of them might have whole documentation sites. Go to their documentation and look for platform specific, what you might need to do in each platform in order to be able to use that plugin effectively, right? So anyways, this is plugin general, how plugin system works and how cross-platform development frameworks work in general, right? I hope you got some idea, and this will be more evident once you start building and practicing. So once you start practicing more, this will be even more effective and you can understand it better. So we'll start by creating a new project. Yeah, let me create a new Flutter project. Flutter create. I'll just name it using image speaker. So this will create Flutter project. Okay, it's created. So I'll be using VS Code. Yes, I trust. Okay, I opened the desktop.
Hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt. So,
Yeah.
could you just increase the font size?
Yeah, I will. No worries. Is this good enough? Let me open up the file. Is this good enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just created a new project. Let me just remove these comments. Remove all comments. So this is a basic counter app that you get with Flutter, and it's there, it's working. Anyways, now, first thing to do in order to use a plugin is you need to add it in your pubspec.yaml file. I'm just removing all the comments here just to make it more clear. Okay. So first thing we need to do is we need to add the dependency, and we can do that either by adding it manually, or VS Code and Android Studio both have, I think, they support. You can run command and add dependency, and you can see it's already showing image speaker here, or you can type image speaker and then tap enter. This will get the image speaker plugin and it will add it here. Once it does, pub-get might run automatically. If it doesn't, you need to run it. And as we saw in the config, let me show you again. Speaker. As we saw in the README, we need to make sure that in iOS, it's running for iOS 9.0 or higher. And we can do that simply by going to iOS runner, and then where is it? Oh, okay. Body spec is not yet generated. I'm not in Mac. That's fine. So if you go there, there will be something called body spec file where you can set the iOS version to 9.0, or what you can do, you can open this project with Xcode itself and then set the minimum iOS version to 9.0, right? Anyways, once you add the image speaker plugin, now you can write a code in order to access the plugin. So here what I'll simply do is, here is already a stateful widget. I hope you learned basic about widgets, stateless widget and stateful widget. And then what we have here is simple plugin, image speaker plugin. Now again, if we go to their readme file, here is a example. So we can see an example, and then we can see how we can use this, right? First, we need to import it, and then we can call image speaker. We can create a new instance of speaker, and then in speaker we can call peak image, and source can be either gallery or camera. Okay, so let's try it. Let me go here, and then let me set this to, let's say for now I'll run it in web. You can run it in Android or iOS or any supported platforms. I think image speaker only supports Android, iOS, and web. So let's get back here. What I can do is I can create an instance of image speaker, and I'm not importing it because VS Code will auto import image speaker. So just like in their example, I'm doing this. And this is saying something like private field could be final. This is because we new Flutter projects come with these linters that suggest some basic good code practices, and you can follow them. See, this is the value is not used. So okay, let's use it. In our floating action button, we are calling increment counter. Let me change this. I don't want to increment. Here I want to call underscore speaker dot pick image, and source will be, there were two options, right? I can say gallery. Okay, and save. Let me run it on web and let's see what it does in web. I'm running it. It might take some time because this is the first run of the project. So if you have any confusions till now, you can post your queries. We are testing. We added dependency in PubSpec.yaml. If you have not learned about PubSpec, pub dependency, all those things, please let me know. I'll try to explain some of those as well. And then we just instantiated a new instance of image speaker class or image speaker object. We created the speaker object, and then we called speaker.pickImage whenever we press the floating action button. Now, if I press the floating action button, I should get the image speaker, and I can pick any image from here. And we are not doing anything with the picked image. So let's do something, right? So what is happening here, if we look at the pick image function, it is returning a future of X file that might even be null. I hope you learned about these nullability and futures. If you have already worked with API, you must have already used futures. So this is a asynchronous function that returns a X file object of X file that can also be null. So here what I can do is I can make this async, and then I can say final file await. Okay, and what this does is this will return the X file in this file variable, and here I can just log debug print file dot, let's say, name, and this might be null, so we can do something like this and make this no file found. If file is null, no file found, or no file was uploaded, right? Save this. It's hot restarting. Now if I go to web, let me just Right. Okay. Now, if I go to web and if I tap this again and select one of the images selected, and if I look at here, see, I get the name of the file printed here because we are getting this. Or even I can debug print the whole file in order to see the content. Okay, this should be a string. Maybe I can do toString. It might say only object X file. Anyways, but we can still try. Select. Let's select another image. Prints the name and instance of X file. Okay, that's good. We can print any other field. File dot MIME type. Let's print MIME type. Select. Let me select a PNG file. See, MIME type is image PNG. Let me select another file. JPG, MIME type is image JPG. So this is how easily we can use plugin to access native functionalities, right? We are accessing a image speaker, right, in web. However, we are only writing Dart code and everything else is handled by the plugin itself. Now, if I run the same code on Android, let me try to run it on Android, see if even my emulator works. It's been a long time since I wrote some Flutter code. Okay, here you go. Nice. Let me try to run it again. So we are running the same code, right? There is no different in the code. What is X file? X file is just a type that is written by this pick image function. You can see here, it is defined by the plugin itself. It is just a class that is written by this pick image function. The object will be of X file. It is defined in the plugin itself. We don't have to it is a file that we picked from gallery or camera, and all the details regarding files name, MIME type is set in that object. Okay, again, we are in Android. We can do plus. See, we get the similar interface. I can use photos to pick a file and share again. Okay, what I'm getting the file name, but I'm not getting MIME type. Okay, so Android is not returning MIME type. Don't know why. Let's say what it might return. It might return path. If I pick again photos, download another image, so it's returning a name and then path where this photo is hosted, right? So using these things, we can display this image actually in a widget here. So let's try. Here I'll add an image widget. Let's make a variable here that will host this file path. So let's change this. String nullable path. Okay. Path will be initially null, so we make it nullable. And here we will assign, when a file is picked, we'll assign set state path equals file dot path. Okay. And finally, in here, let's say what I can do. I can remove this text. Instead, I can use image dot file and not .html file auto import from .io, and path will be path. And this is not null. Before this, we need to check if it's null. If path is not equal to null, only then we will display this image. Let's save it. Initially, there is no image. If I pick a image, photos, let's say I pick this image. See, now the image is being displayed in the widget. We can do similar thing. We can change the source to camera. If we want to pick image from camera, let me hot restart. Pick. Now it's loading camera. This is emulator camera. I can take a photo, check. Now it's getting the image from camera. So this is how easy it has been made because of the plugin. You don't have to write any Android code. You don't have to write any iOS code. The plugin already handles all those. You just use the plugin, same interface, and then use it in both Android and web. Let's again try to run the same thing in web. Okay, I have made a bunch of changes. Let's try to run it in web. Sorry. Let's select web, run. Let's see. Waiting. Okay, it's loading. I've selected this particular plugin for a reason. I select this. Now we have a error. And the error is unsupported was strong resolving image codec and all these things IO patch. This is because we are running this on web, and we are trying to use .io file from .io in order to display the widget, right? So in Flutter web, we can't use .io because it uses .html. So here's the catch. Let me import HTML as HTML, okay? And then here, what I can do is, if path is not equal to null and not k is web, okay? There is a constant or there is a value provided by Flutter framework in foundation constants. It can check whether or not the application is running on web or other platforms. So if not k is web and path is not equal to null, we'll use the IO file. However, if there is another case, if path is not equal to null, however, it's k is web, then we use html.file. See if it works. Extends blub. Let me try what option it has. What does it require? Argument of type file where okay, it doesn't work this way. HTML this would use, I'm sure this will use the network image. Let me try network. And yeah, let's try this. I'm not even sure if this works. Anyways, yeah, it works. That's good. That's good. Yeah, the plugin had changed since I last used it. Anyways, so there are certain catches. Does uses a plugin make code slower as compared to running the code using Kotlin or Android? Okay, we'll talk about that just in a bit. I'll talk about performance. So first, notice few things here. Previously, when we were running on Android, we were using this image.file. However, I don't even need this. So when we are running on web, however, we need to use image.network because path is a network path. So there are a couple of differences that might arise, and sometimes the plugin should tell those things, but I don't think they have mentioned this anywhere. They might have this in the changelog. If we look at the changelog, use minimum, fix readme, catch, camera source Android, web, anything related to web, get multi-image, breaking chains, Google Play. Okay, anyways, I could not find this here, but maybe we have this details in some docs or somewhere. Added new method that returns cross file x file instance, deprecated method. Okay, no worries. Anyways, you need to account for these kind of differences when using some of the plugins that might work differently in web and differently in other platforms, and you can handle all those using these kind of checks. You can even check platform specific thing, like I can check if platform dot is Android. If it's Android, then I can print text I'm on Android, right? We can even do something silly as this. Platform operating system. Okay, I'm not sure. If not K is web and platform is Android, yeah, we need to account for this as well, because platform again comes from .io and it doesn't work on web. So if not web and platform is Android, then print this text. So we can do something like this. If I run this again, let me use terminal this time to run. Flutter run -d run. It should list the device. Okay, it's running on Android. That's fine. Wait. So here you go. I'm on Android, which is not printed in web, right? So we using these kind of checks, these kind of constants that are provided by the Flutter framework, we can easily handle these kind of obstacles where some of the things might not work as smoothly in all the platforms or as similarly in all the platforms. However, there is always a workaround. So I chose this particular plugin in order to show you this information that it might not always work similarly in all the platforms, but there are certain similarities. Like we are running the same code, we are getting back the same X file. However, the path that we get is a file system path in Android iOS. However, in web, it's a network path, so that we need to use two different kind of wizards. Sorry. Okay, so till now, any confusions between all of these, like whatever we have learned till now? Sorry. If you have any confusions, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat before I move further and talk about the whole plugin and performance and everything else. You need to understand this, because when you are building a Flutter application, native application in Flutter, you do need to access things like camera, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or anything native, right? You need to access those kind of things from native platform, and you need to understand the plugin architecture to use it effectively, or even build your own plugin if required, if there are not a plugin that already does the native handling that you need. Okay, I see no questions. That's a good thing or bad thing. If I see no question, that means you understand me perfectly, or you don't understand anything. If you don't understand anything, that's the scary part. What's that const? Okay, nice. So this const is just constant. Like any other programming language, Dart has variables and constant. So const makes this whole wizard a constant, so that whenever UI is rebuilding, this doesn't rebuild. And as we don't have any dynamic thing here, we can set it constants. Like here as well, we can set it constant, because this part actually doesn't change. Here we can't set it constant because this path is changing. Path is a variable that is changing, right? So this constant makes your app more efficient. Wherever you can, there are constant things inside it. Even more true for stateful wizards, because whenever state changes in stateful wizard, like when path is changing, we get this image here by rebuilding this wizard, right? So if you set any wizard here constant, that means whenever UI is being rebuilt, this particular wizard will not rebuild. It is used same because it's constant. is it mentioned in the plugin documentation that which function is applicable on which platform and could be alternative function? Yeah, if there are like this particular case, it is not related to plugin itself, because from plugin itself we are using the same code for all the platforms. But if there are differences in platform wise, like some functions are not supported in some platform and some functions are supported in some other platform, then plugin should document it. If it doesn't document it, then that's a bad plugin, that's not a good plugin. And the way to find a good plugin in pub.dev is, if you go to pub.dev, first, there is this Flutter Favorites. These are the plugins of highest quality. You should always, if you are searching for any functionality, first look through the plugins that have this tag Flutter Favorite, and you can see this tag here as well in the plugin page. I think Image Speaker has that. No, okay, Image Speaker doesn't have that. Anyways, but this is another thing. This is an official plugin by Flutter.dev, so it's safe to use it. And again, sorry, another Flutter favorite plugins that you can use that are safe to use as well. Most popular packages, these are most popular, that means well maintained and used by many people, so you can use it. And some of these are like by Flutter.dev, like by Dart.dev. These are also official plugins, so it's good to use it. Another fluttercommunity.dev, this is awesome Flutter community. You can use their packages as well because they are doing great work. They are constantly maintaining it. They are in constant communication with Flutter team themselves and doing a great job here as well. So you need to find a good plugin, and if it's a good plugin, they have proper documentation and they provide everything, like if there is any platform specific differences, if you need to configure any platform related configs, so all those things are given there. If not given, if you encounter problem, all the plugins are open source. You can go to their GitHub repository like I showed earlier by tapping at the repository URL and then open an issue there regarding whatever thing you don't understand. You may even contribute to that particular package in order to write the documentation once you get the idea of the missing documentation. Okay. Another, can you kindly explain JsWave constant? Okay. So JsWave is just a constant that tells whether the application is running in web or not. So a constant that is true if the application was run on the web. So only when it is run on web, this constant is true. Otherwise, it's false. It's just a constant. And anyways, in Flutter, as Flutter is open source, all the source code is well documented and you can see the source code itself as well. And whenever you hover inside anything, hover in any keywords, you get this awesome documentation from where you can learn all these things. What does the word native mean in the context of app development? Okay, not in the context of app development. What I can say is what native means in the context of cross-platform app development. So whenever we are talking about cross-platform app development, there are two kinds of apps, like hybrid and native. So Flutter is actually a native cross-platform app development, whereas Cordova, PhoneGap, even React Native is a kind of hybrid approach. And Cordova, PhoneGap is not even hybrid; they are web embedded. So what happens in these is that, so if you look at Cordova or Ionic, they just write a web page and they have a web view inside the application, and in the web view the whole application is rendered in the web view itself, and that talks to the native code using some plugin architecture that Cordova has defined or PhoneGap has defined. Okay, and if we look at React Native, what I can see from their documentation is that all the code or all the views or UI that you write in React Native translates to native code. However, all the business logic written in JavaScript remains in JavaScript, and that is compiled by V8 engine, that is run by V8 engine, that is running inside the React Native app that you build. And when we come to Flutter, what happens is the code we write compiles to native machine code for each platform. Okay, the Dart code, the Dart UI we are writing is not being compiled to native UI or something like that. It is directly being compiled to the machine code. And that is what native means. It is compiled to the native platform. If the code is running in ARM like Android, if the code is running on web, it is compiled to JS. If the code is running on Android, it might be compiled to ARM, and similarly to the machine code. So native here means that the native platform. So also, if we are talking from the context of plugin, any native code means that the plugin has a native code for Android that is written in Kotlin or Java. Has a native code for iOS means it has a code written in iOS or Objective-C or Swift. So this is what the native actually means. I hope it's clear. If not, please raise further questions. Is there a difference between API and plugin, since both sound the same? I don't understand what you mean by what kind of API do you mean here? API and plugin, are they same? API is like application programming interface. If you are talking about general API, it's an interface, whereas plugin is a whole architecture. So plugin provides the whole architecture. It does provide an API for you to interface with. However, it has all the codes inside it, native code inside it. Plugin is not only the interface, it has all the implementation itself inside it. So I'm not sure what you are talking about here. Please, if you can clear up, I may be able to give some more answers here. Now, regarding, does the usage of plugin make the code slower as compared to running the code using the Kotlin for Android? Okay. Regarding this, Flutter has been boosting about their performance, and you don't have to worry about, there might be certain delays just by a few milliseconds or even microseconds, but it will not be noticeable even in large applications. And there might not even be some delays, because when we are the plugin itself, so if you look at the plugin, what you just saw here, if you look at that, there is a Dart code, there is a Java code for Android, and there is a JavaScript code for web, right? However, when you build your application, when you build your application, what happens is all those codes are compiled to the native machine code. That means any lag or any runtime lag is there between transferring data from the Dart interface to the actual native code. It's quite minimal. You can understand it because it's just all in machine code. If it was something like React Native running the JavaScript code in V8 engine, there might have been some lag, because you need to send the code back to the native platform, and native platform has to return back the output, and then you have to get that message. So there is a latency, because the message has to transfer through certain channels. Here, even though it goes through the platform channel, actually all the codes are compiled natively to machine code, so any lag there is minimal, and I don't think anything is noticeable there. Okay, can you explain the word async? Okay, I had a sense you used API already, so you must have already used future and async. Await. Did I get it wrong? Okay. Anyways. So async and await is a asynchronous programming term. Yeah, you learned it today. So okay. I can explain a bit more. So what we are telling here is this is similar to async and await in JavaScript or TypeScript, if you have used anything similar. Otherwise, async just tells that this function is asynchronous, or this function has asynchronous code inside it. And await just tells that this peak image is actually returning a future, right? Future is asynchronous. That means it doesn't return the value immediately. It might take some time to return the value. However, what we are doing here is using this async and await keyword, we are telling that wait until this returns the value, only then execute this next method. If we don't put await here, this will actually return future x file instead of x file. Okay, if we await here, the future is disregarded because it is awaiting, or it is waiting till the future is complete. And this async keyword here tells that this function internally can await for futures. Okay, so this is the meaning of async and await. It is just a way of executing asynchronous code in a synchronous way. If we don't have await here and async here, this speaker would immediately move to this after the execution of this line without waiting for this peak image to actually return the output. Okay, and we might have to come back again in order to get the output. So what we are telling here is, though this is asynchronous code, just execute it and wait for this async operation to complete, and only then move on to the next operation. Okay, I hope that's clear. Yeah, this is like almost all the content for today. This is very simple, not too deep, and not too difficult if you understand the whole package and package system and dependency management and all those things. So if you have any confusion in like anything related to whatever you learned today, any basic thing like package, pub, what we are doing here, how we are adding dependency, how all this works, and how we are actually using this package here. If you have any confusion to anything till now, you can raise a question. So I'll just go through the flow once again, what we did here. So first, we found the dependency in pub.dev. So here we searched for image speaker, and there would be a bunch of options like image speaker, image speakers, image speaker, anything. There are tons of those, and we look at the most official by Flutter.dev. So we want to use this. We went to its website and then saw a bunch of documentation there. We also found out how to use it, what function to call, and how to do it, right? So here, what we are doing, we are just calling image, creating an instance and calling the pick image function. So we did similar. We came back to our code, and then first we added the image speaker dependency. For this, we could simply copy it from here as well using this copy button, or we use the Dart or Dart plugin for VS Code in order to install this dependency. Once the dependency is installed, we need to run flutter pub get, which was run automatically by VS Code. So once that was done, the picker plugin was picker plugin, and we created an instance of a picker plugin. And whenever this button was pressed, this floating action button that was calling increment counter, when that was being called, we just called picker.pick image. And as this was a future, we used async await in order to wait for the future to complete and return back the value. And then we assigned the value to our file variable. And if that file had a path, we assigned it to a class level path variable or path property in the class. We also printed a bunch of information. And then in the widgets itself, using the path, we displayed the image. And we saw that path was different for non-web platforms and web platform. So we had to use a different method in order to display the image based on the platform we are running. So this is how it works. If I restart here, will the camera even work on web? I'm not sure. Let's try. No, it just gives whatever the source is, either camera or gallery. Web just allows me to upload. I think webcam is not yet supported. Okay, so this is what we did. And if you have any confusion regarding this or regarding how to use native plugins, how to access native functionalities using some of these plugins, as an experienced individual, can you kindly do a comparison of today's market scenario between Flutter, Android development using Kotlin, and iOS development, the demand for technology, salaries in future prospect of all three technologies? Okay, thank you. This is something I would love to answer, because I have been there. I have been an Android developer. I have been even iOS developer for a few months. I have done native iOS, and then I have been a Flutter developer. And I have also tried React Native. So few things comes to mind when we talk about application development and market. So in order to be able to develop an application, the system or framework that we are using should be good, should be intuitive, should be easy to use for developers as well. The experience for developers also matters in case of technologies when there are alternatives. So before Flutter React Native, there were no alternatives or proper alternatives to using Android or iOS native technology itself, right? And it did not matter how was the experience. Like imagine you are trying to build this similar application in Android. Once, imagine the code that you have to write in Java or Kotlin, because they are intense. Writing code in Java, I feel bad. Like I don't know. I don't particularly. I don't like Java because we have to write so much code even to do simple things, right? And then another is you have to build and rebuild, and every time you change a little bit of code, you have to exit and rebuild. And Flutter here has hot reload, which makes it super useful for developers and super productive, right? And another thing is complexity, learning complexity, all those things. Imagine a company has to develop a mobile application and their target customers are both on iOS and Android, right? Now, in order to target all of their customers, they have to develop both iOS and Android application. However, if they do it natively, they'll have to hire Android developers separately, iOS developers separately. They'll have to pay them a lot of salaries and they'll have to maintain two different code bases. However, if you are getting the same level of performance from a cross-platform framework like Flutter, then imagine how happy they will be, right? And this is the case behind Flutter gaining so much hype and Flutter being so much popular. Right now, you can see that the demand for Flutter developers is soaring. It's compared to iOS and Android, it's tripling or quadrupling. It's growing exponentially, and this is going to remain for a few years. Uh, and even after that, if there comes a tough competitor for Flutter, like Microsoft is developing .NET MAUI, which is also a cross-platform application development framework, much like Flutter. And even if it comes to light, what happens is there will be so many applications. Right now, there are more than 500,000 applications live already that are built with Flutter. And there will be so many applications already written in Flutter that in order to maintain those applications, add features, and keep on working on those, they will always require developers. And also, once you understand these concepts, like how the cross-platform frameworks work, it's just about learning the syntax of particular framework. You can switch to any frameworks or any language you want, right? So it's like once you know the fundamentals, you can work with any similar programming language. Once you know the fundamentals of programming, you can work with any programming language within a week, because it's just learning the syntax. Apart from that, everything else, all the logic will be same. So my suggestion to you is Flutter is going to be there, and Flutter is in high demand. If you can right now, if you can learn Flutter, if you can develop a skill in certain skill level, let's say intermediate or advanced level skills in Flutter, and if you can apply for job, you'll get job, because it is in such a high demand. Even in India, Nepal, it's in high demand. And because of COVID and all these things, remote working is so much popular that you don't have to go anywhere. From India, from Nepal, you can work with any countries. You can work with US companies. Right now, I'm working at Upright.io, which is a remote company which is based in Israel, but we have remote developers from UK, Canada, India, Nepal, Netherlands. You can imagine. So we have developers from worldwide. So you get a similar opportunity. And if you look at the job postings right now worldwide, Flutter developers are in so much demand. Just go to Twitter and search for Flutter jobs. You'll get so many tweets. If you go to like LinkedIn or Stack Overflow and search for Flutter jobs, you'll get so many posts there. So imagine how it is. And compared to salaries, future prospect. So future prospect of technology, nobody can say a thing, right? MySpace was a thing before Facebook. What else? Before Google, there might have been some other things. And technologies come, they go, they change. So you need to find the right balance or right time to ride on that technology hype. Right now, Flutter is in high demand. If you can ride on this tide at the moment, which I did, which helped me a lot in boosting my career, and if you can do that, you can rise up too. And next thing is, regarding salaries and everything, it always depends on your skill, right? uh, it's not like Flutter developers are paid more or Android developers are paid more. There is one one problem though. iOS developers are paid more because iOS development is like it's a black box. You need to own a Mac, you need to have some kind of hi-fi language, Swift, right? It seems like that, but imagine now Flutter developers writes both Android and iOS, even macOS application, even web application. And compared to that, iOS does nothing, right? iOS is nothing. But we do need iOS skills. So if you are going into Flutter development, do have some basic knowledge of both Android and iOS platforms, because it will go a long way. As I showed you here, working with any native plugins, accessing any native things, you might need to do some native configurations. And when you know some basics of native platform, it's a huge boost, and it will help a lot while you are doing Flutter applications. I hope this answers your query. If not, you can answer further. You can ask further. Anyways, I'm not seeing any further queries. Please, if you do have some queries, you can post it. You can even now, I think you can unmute yourself. Aditya, is it okay?
Yes, yes. If anyone has a query or would like to ask a question, raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Okay. Uh, okay. How should a complete beginner in application development start their journey for learning Flutter? So first thing I would say is, if you're a complete beginner in programming itself, I hope not, because I guess you are from IT background, is it? Aditya, I missed it. Um,
Hi, hello, hi.
yeah.
Yes, I was the one who asked the question. Hello,
Okay.
Damodhar.
Yeah.
So
Hi.
yes, I do have some experience in IT. I am
Okay.
an artificial intelligence engineer. So
Okay.
but I don't know anything about Android development or application development.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. So you have a basic programming knowledge, like how to write programs and logics and all those things in programming, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so if you have that, Dart language is quite similar. If you have learned C or C++ or JavaScript or any other language, Dart is pretty similar. You can learn Dart in a day or in a week. Dart is nothing. And Flutter is just Dart code with some flavors in it, because one is you need to know object-oriented programming. I hope you already do that. And
True.
then once you know the object-oriented programming, you understand classes and everything. Flutter, everything is widget, right? So all the widgets are just classes that extend either stateless widget or stateful widget. Um, and they build on top of that and all those things, right? So as a beginner, what you start from the Dart language. You understand the basic principle of Dart language, what is different from other languages. You just have to go through the language tour in dartlang.dev. You can understand the basic difference. And then once you have the Dart language at your hand, once you understand it, then you can go to the Flutter beginner. If you go to flutter.dev, and let me show you. Right now, there is, where is docs? No? tutorials, events, learn, development, learn. If you go to this, there is a track, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And there are some, if you tap in the beginner, there are some lesson plans and all those things. See, start the beginner journey. Now, there are certain tutorials, certain roadmap. This is like a roadmap the official Flutter team has collected from community, and you can use this as a guideline. And you can even find some videos in YouTube in order to understand these basic things, right? And once you understand the basic things, like using these plugins, packages, all these basic things, once you have the idea of dependency management, all these basic things, now all you need to do is you need to build application, build as many projects as you can. And what I suggest is, once after you start building, share your UIs, share your code in GitHub, share it, learn in a group. If you have a group of friends, learn in a group. It's a lot helpful when you practice in a group. And once you start doing that, post it, post your application, post whatever UI or application that you are developing in different medium like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. And you might not even have to go looking for a job. They might come looking for you. That is what happened to me. I got offered 3 different projects after starting Flutter. So within 1 month, I got my first project just because I was building UIs and sharing. You can find my Flutter UI challenge project in GitHub, which is one of the starting project that I did, and which is also one of the popular projects that I made. It just hosts bunch of UIs developed in Flutter, and I was just posting daily 1 or 2 UIs that I developed in Flutter, and I just got a call, got a message that somebody wanted to hire me for their project, and I was okay. Why not, right? So it's a good prospect. It has a good prospect, and the way to learn is first have the beginner like basic understanding, then doing as many projects as you can. You can also find Flutter roadmap in my YouTube channel as well. It's called React Bits. You can find me on dlohani.com.np. This is my website. You can find all my links here, and I have a bunch of blogs, talks, even YouTube videos regarding Flutter. And another is from India, Pawan Kumar. He has quite a great set of YouTube tutorials for Flutter in both Hindi and English. So you might want to try that as well to get the basic, but don't get stuck on the tutorial. Once you know the basic, start building projects, your own projects, or build a clone of existing applications or anything. So the more you build, more you'll understand and more skilled you'll get.
That's great, man. That's great. Great interacting with you. Could you kindly share the links of your website and on the chat section?
Yeah, just it. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Thanks a lot,
I have,
man.
okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you as well. So another question I get is POB. What is POB spec? Explain POB spec, right? Okay, so in order to understand POB or POB spec, you need to understand the whole concept of dependency management. Okay, Ravikant ji, do you know anything about dependency management? Have you done it before, like in JavaScript using npm or anything else? Please let me know. For others as well, if you have used npm or if you have used Gradle in Android, let's say if you have used Swift Package Manager, what else? If you have used Cargo in Rust, anything, that's a dependency management. And POB spec and POB are dependency management tool for Flutter and Dart. So actually, POB is a dependency manager tool, whereas POB spec is just a configuration file that tells about different configuration for a Dart or a Flutter project. And here you can see different things. Like if you look at POB spec, first you can see the name of the project, description, publish to none. This means if you are developing a package, you'll remove this because you'll publish it to pub.dev. You have the version of application. This version will also be used when you are building Android or iOS application, this version will actually be used to release those applications, and those applications will be versioned using these numbers. Then environment, the dependency, this particular project is dependent on what is Dart 2.15 greater than or equal to Dart 2.15 and less than Dart 3.0. Dependencies, this has Flutter itself as a dependency because this is a Flutter project, and bunch of other dependencies, some dev dependencies, and there are certain Flutter specific configurations. So PubSpec file is just a configuration file where we set bunch of configurations including dependencies for this project, and this is used by the pub tool that is available with both Flutter and Dart. And pub tool is the tool used to manage the dependencies only. Okay, pub tool is used to manage dependencies. However, pubspec.yaml is a configuration file that holds also the configurations regarding dependencies, what versions of which dependencies are used, and all those SDK dependencies, everything, including the name of the project and other configurations related to that project. I hope it's clear. If not, please let me know. Okay, do we have any further questions? Anybody else? Please, if you have, I can allocate few 10 to 20 more minutes if you have questions. Otherwise, like it's almost done. We are at the end, and yeah, okay, great YouTube channel. Thank you. Yeah, I have not been able to update them recently because super busy. I try to post some videos. Anyways, any further questions? If you want to speak, you can raise your hand. You can unmute and you can speak. Okay. Can I jump directly to app development, or should I have some hands-on web dev before coming to app development, as I have decent knowledge of DSA? Only have decent knowledge. Okay, if you have decent knowledge of DSA, that means you understand programming concepts already, and you can jump directly to app development. But even with app development, you need to have the basic knowledge of web and all those APIs and stuff. That is because application, most of the application connect to some kind of web server for APIs and access data from there. Like even if you are using Firebase and accessing data from Firestore, you are just connecting to some web server and getting data using some APIs, right? So you need to have a basic concept of how web works, how TCP actually works, and how that interface works and gets data, how APIs work, mostly REST API, and even maybe general information about GraphQL API. You need to have basics of those, and then you can start development. You can learn them as you go through. Like you don't have to learn API in order to build a UI in Flutter, but once you reach in a position where you want to get connect your application to some APIs, knowing the basic principle of web and API and how those work will take you a long way. I personally, before starting for Flutter, I had like 8 years of experience with general programming, web, and web front-end and back-end development. So it was easy for me to get started with Flutter, and within a month, I was in a position to do some projects, right? You might not get there within a month, but with practice and with like you have to have the hunger for knowledge. You have to be able to learn. You have to be able to spend lots of time, because during the days I was learning Flutter, I was spending like 10 to 13 hours apart from my freelance projects to learn Flutter, develop UIs, develop side projects. You can see my GitHub. I have like tons of Flutter projects that I did during learning, even from simple basic hello world to simple UIs. The Flutter UI challenge itself hosts more than 80 different UIs that I developed during learning Flutter. and all those things, right? If you have that dedication, and if you have like decency for learning, you can learn. You can directly go to app development, and in the process, when you get confused, like when you have to work with APIs, learn about APIs and how they work, having those knowledge will boost your career a lot. Okay. My GitHub or my handle is Lohani Damodhar. With this handle, you can find me on GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can find me almost everywhere. And I just shared my website link as well. This is me in GitHub. Currently, I don't have any recent Flutter projects, but this is the one I was talking about, Flutter UI Challenge. It has like 3.5K stars. That's one of the popular projects that I did. And yeah, you can see if I go into repositories and if I filter out Dart by Dart, let's see. See, I have around 130. Among them, I think around 100 are my own projects. So you can imagine how much projects I did during learning. And some of my top projects, you can see it here, like Open Trivia, audiobooks was there as well. It's not here anymore. Anyways, so all you need to do is, if you are interested in Flutter, if you are like interested in application development, Flutter would be a great choice, even for career. If you learn Flutter within 2022, it has a lot of prospect. It will take you to next level, but you have to practice a lot and you have to develop your skill. Yeah, I need to learn GitHub first. Okay, apart from Flutter or whole application development, anybody moving into tech or programming especially need to learn GitHub, basic command lines, Linux, CI/CD, Docker, those kind of tools. You need to learn this even after your application development or during your application development journey, because without Git and GitHub, you'll not be able to work properly in any corporation or any projects that involve more than one people. Even if you alone are doing your project, Git and GitHub are super important. By GitHub, I mean anything related, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. If you know one of the platform, you know all of them. And if you know Git, you basically know GitHub and everything else, if you understand the principle of Git and everything. Also, you need to understand or learn some other principles or other tools, like I said, CI/CD, automated testing, and Docker, and what else? Basic communication skill as well. You have to have a social communication skill, especially if you are trying to become a freelancer. Not like if you don't want to have a job but try to be a freelancer, then social skills is quite important. You have to communicate with your clients directly, all those things, right? CI/CD, automated testing, Docker. Do you want to know more about it, or you are just posting it there? If you want to know more about it, just let me know. I can say some basic things about them, but you can explore them. You can search about them. Flutter has quite good automated testing framework. Flutter testing, you can learn about Flutter testing as well. No problem. If you are just taking a note, that's great. Okay, yeah, that's basic thing. Anyways, if there are no questions, I congratulate all of you for participating. At least you learned something. Even if you don't pursue this further, at least you learn the basics. You know something now. You understand what cross-platform app development is, what it's like. Even if you don't want to pursue Flutter further, you found out that you don't like Flutter that much. Are there any books suggested for Flutter? There was one. I think it is still available for free, shared by Flutter team, Flutter Apprentice. They even had a YouTube series for that, Flutter community had a YouTube series, Apprentice or something. Let me find Apprentice. Yeah, from Ray Wenderlich or something. I don't know how to pronounce, but yeah, I think it's still free, read free with an ultimate beginner subscription. No, it was freely available, provided by Flutter team. If not, I think Flutter community has a series of videos regarding this Flutter Apprentice Book Club. You can go through these videos. Yeah, Apprentice giveaway. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah, so this is one of the recommended book, but there are lots of other books. As I said before, don't stay learning in books and tutorials. Once you know the basic, try to build as many as possible, and try to for videos, try to learn only the concept. Like if you don't know how to connect to API and parse JSON data, you can search that particular topic and learn about that. Once you know that, you can start building your own. Don't try to just replicate them. Once you replicate those, try to build some projects of your own using the same principles that you have already learned. That is how you practice generally any programming, and Flutter as well. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Everyone are going away. That's okay. Yeah. Anyways, congratulations to all of you for being here, at least showing your interest and trying to learn something new, because that's the first step. Learning how to learn is the first step. And then once you know how to learn, keep learning, or just keeping that pace, having that decency is a great thing. Once you have those decency to learn, once you have that aptitude for learning anything, it will take you a long way, because it makes sense in tech. If you stop learning, you'll be obsolete within few days. So yeah, I hope this session was useful, as well as you got some motivations from me. If even a single one of you get something out of this and have some get some motivations to join Flutter, it's a good thing for me. So thank you, everyone.
So with this, we have reached the end of our beautiful session for today. First of all, I'd like to thank Damodhar for taking his time out and providing with such an informative and interactive session. Thank you very much. I would also like to mention here that this is just a second day and there's a lot more to come. Wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
We can stop the live stream.
Yeah.
That was a really interactive session. Thank you for your time, Damodhar.
Thank you, organizers and everyone. Thank you, IIT, for giving this opportunity for interacting with all of you. And just going away message, if you want, you can follow me on Twitter. You can get back to me on Twitter, Facebook, or GitHub. You can contact me with any tech or Flutter related queries. I try to answer all of them. I might not always do that. So if you put your queries in proper format, like with proper information and details, I try to answer you properly. Because if you just raise hello and hi, I might not be able to reply all of those. But if you have a decent query, if you are learning something and you get confused, and if you have a decent query that can show that you did some you did some hard work, but you are not able to figure out, if that's the case, then I will definitely answer you almost within 48 hours. So you can contact me anytime, anywhere. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really engrossing session. Personally, I felt quite engrossed as well. Host, you can probably end the live stream and session as well. Host, are you there?
I don't think he's active right now, but can I end the meeting for everyone? I'm not sure if it's going to mess with
No,
the
the
live
live
stream.
stream would continue. Live stream would continue until he ends from his end.
Anyways, I'll put a message. I think we can all leave the meeting though.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. By the way, that was great session, Aditya. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we should end the meeting for everybody.
I'll probably stay here for another 5 minutes. If the
Oh,
host
sure.
is not responding, I'll do it. Yeah.
I'm leaving. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.